Hi everyone, in this video we are going to discuss vitamins. So I'm sure you've heard of the word vitamins before, but I'm curious if you actually know what the word means. And to be honest, vitamins have a very vague definition. So if you were to ask me what a definition of vitamins were, I would say that is something that is essential for human life, or they are essential organic compounds. It's a very vague definition. And usually we describe vitamins as what are called micronutrients. And we'll get into that a little bit more, but basically what it means is it's just something that you need a teeny tiny amount of, but you absolutely have to have it in your system, otherwise the body does not function properly. So now we take vitamins, or we eat a well-balanced diet in order to get the proper vitamins into our system in order to have three different things. The first thing is, by eating proper vitamins or eating a proper diet, it essentially guarantees good human health, okay? I say guarantee, that's as if something else doesn't happen, right? Number two, it is very good for proper metabolic functioning. Okay, you need these vitamins in order to have a good metabolism. And the last thing is that by eating your vitamins, it usually prevents diseases. Now, I can't say that in a global way because obviously you could definitely develop cancer even though you ate your vitamin C. It's not necessarily the exact same thing and they're not necessarily related, but it is something that the more aware you are of these micronutrients that are needed in your system, the healthier these people typically are, okay? So now let's create a little flow chart to break vitamins down into two different sections. So vitamins are usually classified as either being called water soluble, or you can have vitamins that are called fat soluble. Okay? It is important that you know the difference between the two. So the most important thing that we can highlight is what their composition is. So the organic compounds, or the vitamins that are water soluble, usually contain an alcohol group. So that OH group, somewhere in the organic compound. Whereas fat-soluble compounds usually only contain carbons and hydrogen. So they're usually very long hydrocarbon chains. Sometimes, though, at the very end of a hydrocarbon chain, you will see a hydroxyl group, or that OH group. So just because you see that alcohol does not necessarily mean it's water or fat-soluble. If there's one alcohol, it's probably more fat-soluble. If there's 5, 6, 7 alcohol groups, it's most likely that vitamin is definitely a water-soluble vitamin, okay? Now, why do we separate these? Well, if something is water-soluble, it means you can drink a lot of it. You can intake a lot of it. So our vitamins B and C are definitely water-soluble vitamins. So anytime you're sick, well, not anytime, but at least in my family, anytime you're sick, my mom's always like, eat your vitamin C, take vitamin C. And it's just because it boosts your immune system. So it's really good for you to take that in and have an excess of these water-soluble vitamins when you are under the weather, you're not feeling very well. And I also want to add that sometimes they act as coenzymes, okay? So they're really good catalysts. Sometimes. It just depends on what you're talking about. So now for our fat-soluble vitamins, we would say there's 4 main ones, okay? We have A, D, E, and K. Now these 4 vitamins I would tell you to be extraordinarily careful with, okay? If you are someone who's constantly ingesting vitamins, you need to be unbelievably careful whenever you're intaking fat-soluble vitamins, okay? The issue is, fat-soluble vitamins can be stored in your fat, in your lipids inside of your system. So the bigger you are, or the higher body fat percentage that you have, you're more prone to storing up these vitamins. So you have to think about it, there's a certain toxic level for all of these vitamins. So the more that happen to get stored in any of your fat or anything like that, the worse it's going to be for you. So you need to be very cognizant of your levels of vitamins. Now, what happens if you have too much A or D or E or K? Usually it's not terrible, okay? It's something like you'll kind of have blurred vision or you'll have fatigue. However, if you have too much of your vitamin D, we know for sure that it definitely causes heart and kidney failure, okay? So that eventually that would lead to death. So these can be toxic. So you have to be very careful. The good thing is a healthy diet makes sure that you have all of these vitamins. So as long as you're eating well and you have a proper diet, you never have any reason ever to ingest vitamins. So that those whole stores that just sell vitamins, realistically, they are not necessary as long as you eat well. Okay, that's the most important part. All right, so what I'm going to do here is draw out 2 different vitamins for you, and I want you to try to tell me whether or not you would believe for them to be either fat or water soluble. So just give me just a second as I draw these out here for you. So they're quite complicated. This is one. I will tell you what the vitamin is after you answer the question. So there's your first one, okay? I want to know if this is fat or water soluble. Go. All right, did you get an answer? Hopefully you did, and what I would hope for you to be able to do is look at this structure and automatically see 1, 2, 3, and 4 alcohol groups. So right away you should be saying this has a lot of alcohol groups. This is very, very likely to be water soluble, and it definitely is. This structure is actually vitamin C. So while you're looking at this structure, I want to tell you one little thing. So if you've ever heard of those emergency packets, this is one of my little pet peeves. I absolutely hate those. I think they're a complete waste of money, and it drives me nuts that they are sold so well and so much here in the United States. Your body can only uptake a certain amount of vitamin C. So when you take Emergen-C, literally what you are doing is ingesting it into your system and then just peeing it right out. It doesn't go into your body at all, because as soon as your body absorbs a certain amount of vitamin C that it can take for that day, it's done with it. So it just passes everything else. So when you shell out all this money for the Emergen-Cs, those extra vitamin Cs, you are literally paying money to just pee stuff out of your system. So please don't do it. It's a waste of money, and that's just a little pet peeve of mine. So now moving on, because that's not important. What about this one here? So I've drawn it out again. This is the other vitamin. I want to know, is it fat or water soluble? Go. All right, did you get an answer? Hopefully you did. This one was a little tricky. So what happens usually is when people look at vitamin A, this is the structure of vitamin A, is they right away see this one alcohol group and they automatically go, oh, it has to be water soluble. But truth be told, that's just not the case. This one little alcohol group all the way here on the corner does not trump the fact that we have this huge, huge, huge hydrocarbon right there. So that aspect of all those carbons and all those hydrogens so nicely bound together, that definitely makes this a fat-soluble vitamin. So don't get tripped up by one little hydroxyl group, okay? All right, have a great week. Take care of yourself, and definitely eat your vitamins. No, wait, don't. Don't eat your vitamins.